Hello and welcome to SELINTalks, podcast initiative by SELINClub. We connect, engage, and acknowledge educators globally. Today we have Dr. Vasavvi Acharjya with us. She's a pioneer in the field of early childhood education, an entrepreneur, social worker, trainer, author, YouTuber, and blogger, and so many more roles that she plays more than anything. She's a very humble and a kind soul. A very warm welcome to you. We're excited to have you with us today on another episode of Selling Talks. First of all, a very, very warm welcome to you. Thank you so much for taking our time to do this with us. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you.
So before I begin with everything, you are an early childhood expert, entrepreneur, social worker, trainer, author, YouTuber, blogger. How do you manage so many things? You have so many things, so many roles to play.
Yeah, that's a interesting question because yes, I do a lot of things at one go, and I think that it's because I can manage time. I'm very good at time management, and I basically, I work in on a blueprint. So I keep a blueprint of things that I need to do, and then accordingly I divide my time, and I find time for everything in fact. So, if somebody
Wow,
says that I'm busy and I can't give you a call, I just find it really, I don't understand why, because somehow I can make time for everything.
that's really interesting. So, to begin with, how has been your journey so far? Was this already decided, or did you take another path wherein you started doing something else since from the beginning, even your education and then your career? Was it decided, or was it something out of the blue, or it was just fate?
See, Shruti, how I started, I graduated from Delhi University, Miranda House, and then I did my post-graduation from Shimla University because I wanted to change my subject. So I post-graduated in political science, and I came back to my hometown in Guwahati because there was some, my sisters were getting married, and there were some personal things we had to sort, and so I came back to live with my mother. At that time, it was barely, I think it was 2001. And when I came back after a stint of 5 years, not in my native place in Delhi and other places, now I just thought that what I should be doing. And because I love to spend time with children, so I thought that why not, start a preschool. But at that time, I was just barely trained for the preschool thing. Then I took up some trainings and all of that. And together with it, I also started my law education. So I was very interested in law. But our law colleges were such that the classes would be in the evening only. And the preschool whole
Right.
thing is in the morning, the activities, everything we do in the morning. So I could make time for both. And in 2005, when I graduated, I was a law graduate, then there was this question whether I would take up legal profession or whether I would continue with my preschool. So that was at around that time I even got married. So there was probably that was the design of the God. So I got married, and then I understood that I wanted to spend more time with children and not take up the legal profession. And from there on, from 2005, I must say I became really very serious about this. And then I started taking up trainings. Then we opened another center. So that time, Tender Petals was not launched. My initial
Right.
preschool setup was called Shishuban. And then I opened in 2009 another center of Sishuban, which was so Sishuban still enjoys a very good reputation. So even if I am, known for Tender Petals, but then there are older parents would come back to me and say, "Ma'am, Sishuban was, really good, and I feel Tender Petals is the same." I said, "Yeah, we are doing, we're trying to do the best." So after 2013, when we launched Tender Petals, we started franchising it because it became a preschool brand, and then
Right.
we started one after the other centers. 2013 to 2020, the journey was very nice. It was very smooth, and we had a very good, curve of rise up. We really rose to that level. And then the pandemic hit, like we all know, and we had a lot of challenges, which we overcame. because I feel we need to be a lot flexible, and we need to have a lot of socio-emotional skills in terms of, being able to accommodate to anything that is new or coming out of your comfort zone and doing things. And I feel that saw me through, and we are again here, back all strong and, venturing
I
in areas, different areas. Yeah.
For sure. You have 2 decades of experience in the domain of early childhood. I'm sure it would have been challenging in the first, and eventually it did. Like you said, you are thriving right now. What is the most fulfilling lesson or journey or maybe learning that has been till now?
See, there have been many, but if we look at one, we started our brand from Northeast India. So generally, what happens when you are doing things from your own area, it's like a local brand, right? So
Right.
people always try to take up a national brand, something from Delhi, something from Mumbai, Bangalore, and that was one challenge we faced. But I think we broke barriers when we opened our first center, franchise center in Dhanbad, that is in Jharkhand, and we are opening our centers now all over India. So when a brand moves out from that local area to other, it spreads out. That I feel is a big achievement, and also the thing that is synonymous to it is we are able to touch lives of more children, because our main aim is to give the best to the children. And I feel that if we go to areas which require, a good preschool, our presence should be there. And I think now that people are accepting it at a national level, that's one of the main achievements that we have.
I'm very glad, and I have myself heard about Tender Petals. Not even heard about. I've seen so many centers. I have really the thing that I really like the most is how the place has been done, how the infrastructure has been done from the outside itself, from a person who would not enter a preschool without, obviously, but everything is so sophisticated and nice, and it is really not in the face, but it's just so calming to see those colors and everything that is associated with the brand as a guideline. It's really, really nice, honestly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind
I
words.
personally wanted to say this. I don't know if I should have, but really, really appreciate it. Really.
That's a huge compliment, and we would want to do even better with what we are doing.
I'm sure you will, for sure. You also have NGOs in place. Could you shed a light on the accomplishment of this NGO and the workings as to what you're doing in the social sector of your career?
Shruti, I started this NGO in 2014. It is the D.N. Acharya Foundation for Children and Women Development. So we work for the development of children and also women, in terms of, if a woman is empowered, she has the ability to raise a child who is empowered, right? So we work
Very true.
for the upliftment of women for startups and all of that. And then we also work for the children. Now, in 2019, when we work for children, we work with children up to, the age of 14, because
Okay.
I'm mostly into the early childhood domain. So in 2019, I thought, why not open an initiative that is completely focused on early childhood years, right? So we started the Early Childhood Development Forum in 2019, and we had a huge conference in Guwahati where the Honorable Education Minister of the state had come, and he was really appreciative of the work that we are planning to do. And in 2020, when the pandemic hit, we were just lining up a lot of events, to do pan India. And the pandemic hit, and we were, transferred to the online platform. And that, I must say, was a blessing for ECDF in terms of getting global educators into our platform and getting the best of early childhood practices here. Now, what we do through the NGO is we give out courses, we do a lot of seminars, webinars, we also have conferences, we have tie ups. And whatever fund comes from the membership and from the other side, we have adopted a village in Assam in Habigao. Habigao is Habi means a jungle in Assamese, and gaon is a village. So it's a village near the jungle. And there are about 75 to 80 odd children, number of children there. And we support their education in whatever way we can from the funds that we raise through the ECDF events. And these children have really, I feel they are a different bunch now. They are like very smart. They come, they run, to us when they see us and are volunteers. And they are always enthusiastic about learning new things. So I feel touching the lives of these 80, 75, 80 children have kind of changed me and made me think deeper into how education can actually make a difference in
Yeah.
the society.
It's really inspiring to know this, honestly. I mean, adopting a village and then about 80 to 70, 75 to 80 kids who are getting these benefits, plus the women that are getting the benefits. Really, really inspiring.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, and so another question, you have been into this from past 2 decades, and the times have changed, how kids used to grow up, how they used to study. There's a lot of difference how when we were in school, the kind of content or the kind of things that we were absorbing was entirely different from what is happening right now. We spoke about pandemic being hit. There was a huge rise in screen time. There was a huge loss of human touch in terms of that the whole entire scene has been changed. Until now, a lot of people that I've spoken to, there is still pehle ye tha that we have to everything was happening because of the screen, the studies, everything was happening because of this screen and everything. Now that we are moving towards leaving the pandemic behind, that thing has not yet reduced, and there's a lot of challenges in those 2 years that has actually increased a lot of EQ development or a social development of children. What is your take on it?
See, very truly, rightly said, actually. This was the pandemic was the time when we shifted to the online mode. And though children were exposed to the screen even before the pandemic, it increased by many folds. Then children started to study online, they started to get their homeworks online, they used to even submit their stuff that they did online. And this screen taking over lives of children as well as the adults actually had some negative impact mainly on the children because they started to spend more time alone in the screen. Even if they finished their schoolwork, they would continue with the screen, checking the other websites or other things or YouTube or whatever. So that had a considerable impact on their speech development as well, because children were not speaking around that time. They would, when you are looking into the screen, if you're doing anything, maybe the Facebook or whatever, as adults, we generally look into the Facebook and Insta and all of that. We are not talking to anybody, right? So speech impairment was one thing that was very rampant around this time. And screen addiction also led to a lot of other difficulties, let alone socio emotional development or the peer relationships or talking or socializing. All of that came to an end. Also, there were a lot of children who started wearing specs because of the blue light that the screen emits. That also affected the vision of many children. And there were other side effects. And the main side effects of actually being on the screen for so long would not be visible right away, but it's going to be visible in the coming years.
Right. There has been a lot of, different. So when we are in school anyway, whenever there is, conversation happening, communication happening, all of those things happening. Do you think after this whole time, the EQ, the emotional quotient has kind of decreased in students that are now coming into, preschools and all of that?
See, it all depends on even the home environment.
Of
Now,
course.
yeah, what kind of a household the child has, what kind of, how many people are there, what are the people's commitment towards the child, whether they are spending ample amount of time with the child, talking with the child, trying to understand, or is the child given the screen just for, just to spend the time? Is the
Hmm.
child having enough outdoor activities? All of that actually evolves, makes the child a complete human being. So it is
Mhm.
not only one thing or the other, it's a overall. So we look at the whole brain development. Now, when we are talking about screen time and social emotional skills,
Right.
definitely there has been a kind of impact. But then again, see, internet, the screen, the online thing is here to stay. Now we cannot do away with that. Even without the
True.
pandemic, this is going to be a part of our lives. It's already become a part of our lives, right? So we actually now we have to understand how to balance the two. So if the parent have a good awareness about how to balance the two, how to make the child, uh, the child would see the screen, would be there, but not to that extent that it's harmful. So if we see the positive, we have to see both the positive and the negative. Because like I told you, ECDF reached this level only because of the pandemic and because we went online. But
Right.
again, overexposure is bad. Now, even I, at one point of time in the evening, I switch off all my devices or I just log off and then have my own me time, right? Or do something. So, even that, the parents need to make the children understand. And there is where mindfulness comes in
Right.
because living in the present is being mindful, right? So, if a child today, I would tell, the parents generally tells me, when they interact with me, that I have to give my child the phone, only then he would eat his food, but the child is not even knowing what he's eating when he or she is watching a cartoon or some other thing, right? So the child is not living in the present. They do not know what they have eaten. They do not understand the taste of what they have eaten. And they are completely oblivious of what is around them, in and around them, right? So this is where we need to put a check. This is where we need to actually understand where, till what time is the screen good and what is the limit and where we should know not go beyond it. But otherwise, as far as, yes, you said, how has it affected children? It has affected children a lot because in all the new admissions, new inquiries that have come in, of these toddlers, I have parents complaining about one thing: speech impediment. My child is not able to speak. My child doesn't socialize. My child, because during the pandemic we had kept them apart. They were in one room, they were separated, they were isolated. So now when they come to a surrounding where there are more children or more people, they get nervous. So these kind of things, reports have been coming in. And I think,
Mhm.
all the other early childhood educators would also be having the same kind of feedback after the pandemic.
Right. Do you think this has also led them to actually not being able to process emotions? Usually, what happens is obviously there are emotions, kids don't understand it, but the regulation of those emotions have been kind of now are being into a chaotic zone now because of all of this.
Regulation of emotions, in the sense.
In the sense that when we see, obviously, if the child is nervous, if the child is not comfortable, a lot of times it comes out in anger, a lot of times it comes out in
Yes, tantrums.
yeah, tantrums and all of those things instead, because obviously we are seeing the upper layer of tantrums. You're just seeing that the kid is being angry or not, obeying and all of those things. Do you think that the regulation of these emotions are really distorted in everywhere there was before it, and now what has happened?
Regulation, see, emotional regulation in children, Shruti, is something which we need to make them understand. Because children are generally egocentric. That is one trait they come with. So if we just label them, oh, this child is so, self-centered, it's not done. Because every
Yeah.
child, even you or me as a child, would, we would stick to our bags, to our water bottle, and we would not give stuff to anybody, right? And we would get angry if somebody wants to take it from us. And, and that anger is shown through tantrums, through, different actions, words, whatever. So emotional regulation is something we need to actually teach the child, and that is how we are, taking our curriculum ahead with a lot of activities related to socio emotional development. Now, when they learn sharing and caring, when they learn about empathy, when they do activities and role play related to these kind of things where they are, acting in as they are into somebody else's shoes and trying to have that feeling, how is the other child feeling, right? So
Right.
understanding feelings, understanding emotions, understanding their own emotions. Say a child from whom a toy has been snatched, The child is feeling sad. So he is not able to process the emotion because he doesn't know how to name it. So once you name the emotion, label the emotion as a facilitator, as a guide, if the adult, be the parent, be the teacher in the school, if they understand the child's emotion and tell them that, yes, I understand that you're feeling sad, and now what are we going to do about it? We
Hmm.
take a deep breath, or try to, if the child is angry, maybe, kind of calm the child by taking slower breaths and deep breath, pause, think, and then come to a understand that emotion. So once you understand that emotion, you can process it, right? Now, if I know where the problem is, I will know how to make the solution or come into a solution. But if I do not know the problem, I will not, never. So once a child understand that I'm feeling sad because of the behavior of this other child and what needs to be done, the child would be in better control of the emotion. He would not now go and hit the other child, or bully the other child, or do something else, or cry. And so even if they cry, it's a good thing. They should be able to express themselves. So what happens in our society, generally we say, you are a boy, why are you crying? It's nothing like that. You may cry, but how you're dealing, generally after understanding and labeling your emotions, you are able to uh, train yourself into dealing with such emotions, into accepting your vulnerability, understand yourself, understanding your own feelings. So all these things, I think, requires a lot of effort in terms of what the school is doing, what the parent is doing with the child, their dialogues, their words, very important. Because, if I suddenly pass on a comment like, you are a boy, why are you crying? You are a girl, why are you so happy? Why are you laughing so loud? Girls are not supposed to laugh. All these, the dialogue, small things that we tell our children, that, you are a guy, why are you playing with kitchen things? Play with a car. You're a girl, what is this car for? Go and play with this rolling pins and all of that. So all these small dialogues, without even understanding, parent keep saying, and that actually kind of confuses the child, gives them a lot of, they become opinionated, that this is what is I am supposed to be doing, this is what I am expected to do. All this kind of
Hmm.
puts a different kind of benchmark into the child's life, and then they are never able to deal with their emotions, with their feelings, with their wants in the right manner, because they would always look at what is expected of me and what I should be doing, rather than what it that I need to do, or what is my heart's calling. So emotions, processing of emotions, everything depends a lot on the environment. That is where our environment comes in, the surroundings that we are comes in.
Very true. What would be your three, the star advice for parents and teachers to, actually practice this? Because to be like for example, to let children train being mindful, a parent and a teacher so has to be right. Mindfulness actually plays a two-way street. So, what would be your three top advices for for the parents and the teachers who are dealing with toddlers and the kids who are very young and tender at that age?
First thing is self-care. The parents and the teachers need to be happy in order to make their environment happy. If today I'm frustrated, or I am kind of in a chaos, I cannot expect that the people around me would be calm and serene, and I would, uh, because I would bring that feeling with me, and that aura with me of chaos,
Hmm.
right? So a parent who is saying, telling the children that please be calm, be mindful. On the other hand, they themselves are not. They would not be able to. So I feel one needs to be mindful. One needs to be happy. So if you're mindful, the parent, the adult also need to uh, train their minds to become more mindful. They may meditate. Everybody has feelings. Everybody has the good times and the bad times. So we need to meditate. We need to have that very balanced approach, like Buddha used to say, the middle path, following a
Hmm.
very middle balanced approach, not being very happy at something and not being too sad at anything. So we need to be mindful, number one, to teach mindfulness. Secondly, we need to be ourselves very happy in our environment, in whatever, life is presented us. So that again is something that is going to always spread to the children, because I've had this very uh, it was not a good experience in school, because we had hired a teacher once who was herself very frustrated in some way or the other, because mainly because of her home environment. So she would bring all the frustration into the classroom. She would shout at the students. Anybody who creates it, does anything which is not up to her thing or expectations, she would try to punish them, do stuff. So I understood that as a teacher, your demeanor needs to be like one, somebody who is a role model. So we have to
Mm,
become, we are the role models of our children, of the children whose lives we touch, be it as a teacher, be it as a parent, be it as a neighbor, be it as any stakeholder. So we need to be that role model that the child would look up to, and not somebody, the child sees and gets a scare or gets a very negative vibe. So I think we have to improve our own personality. We have to be the best version of ourselves if we
mm.
want that to happen to the people whose life we are touching.
Very true. I think it has been put very simply by you that, there are just three things that we need to practice in a very wholesome manner rather than going about, like you said, the middle path actually works better than the easiest and the hardest. It's the middle balance that we require to do. Really, really interesting conversation. Last but not the least, I would really like your opinion and your, a message to the young educators who are up and coming, or somebody who's seeking the same career as yours. What would be your top advice, or something that you had learned through all of these years that you really want to throw some light on?
See, to the educators, my message would be that because we are into the early childhood sector and we touch children's life from 2 years onwards, to about 6 to 6 plus years, and these this is the most impressionable period of a child's life that we are touching. So we need to be very serious about the work we do. We need to be very clear whether we want to be with children, because if we don't want to be with them, and if we are with them only because of some perks that come along, like a shorter duration of work hours, or more flexibility and XYZ, then we are taking every child's lives into our hand, and uh, that would not be a good thing to do, to mess up with their lives. So I would always, during my trainings, I would tell educators that if you're expecting a hefty income out of this, work, it's not there. If you want that, please seek another career. If you are just coming to spend your time here because you are now not married and you want to just 3 4 months or 1 year, let me just be in a school and just be there, then you are not the right person. If you are dedicated, if you want to learn, then you should be here, because children are these 6 years, they almost finish three parts of the character formation. So, according to the Eric Erikson theory, from birth to about 6.5 years. So these years are very impressionable, and we have no right to play with their lives.
Wow. Really, really true. I think that's a message that everybody should get, not just even educators. I think everybody, whosoever is even interacting with the child for any manner at any level, because I think the absorbing part at that age is high, very, very high. Because the kid is kind of trying to develop a personality. They are seeing the mother, the father, the relatives, the grandparents, and everybody. He or she is just trying to figure it out, and it's I because I can really recollect what it was like while talking to you. Really, I don't know why, but could really recollect. But I can imagine now at this moment it would be more confusing for a child, and
Yes.
we as adults have the responsibility to be more, like you said, mindful.
Two things I would want to tell you here. This very, very famous quote: Children are like wet cement, whatever falls on them makes an impression," is one thing. So, like in the cement, if you put our handprints, it's going to stay. So, this is what happens with the children. And secondly, when you said about, how uh, our implicit and explicit behavior actually makes the child uh, try to figure out what they are, in the sense
Yeah.
that, if as a parent I give a remark or say something which is very negative to the child, or compare the child with any other children, so they start forming opinion about themselves. And that can be done overtly or covertly. Covertly is without them even knowing. Say a child comes to me, ma'am, how's the day, or good morning, and I would just not acknowledge the child, and I'll do something else. So the child has a feeling that maybe I'm not that good. So how we are behaving in front of the child, or what is our level of commitment towards the children, are very important. And that is why last December, ECDF came up with this walkathon to create awareness about the importance of early childhood education and also child rights. Because children's right to play, the basic rights, they should have. And every adult in the society should understand that these children are not just somebody, little people who are moving around, and we take all their decisions for them. It's not like that. They come with their basic rights, and these rights, they have to enjoy the right to education, the right to a good life, the right to the safety net in the society, where they are not traded, where they are not exposed to something which is negative for their development. So these kind of awareness drives need to take place all over India, because we need to take our children more seriously. And it is high time. It is not only about the education bit of it, but their overall life, the amount of nutrition they're getting, the kind of abuse or what they are subject to on a day-to-day basis. All
Yeah.
these things we need to create more awareness about
Yeah.
all of that.
I could remember Bill Gates' quote also here. He says that the first 5 years of your life will decide the next 80.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
when you were talking about it, it kind of just clicked, and I was like, this is just not a quote. It is literally everything that we have been
Yes,
living.
absolutely.
It's been really enlightening talking to you, honestly, and a lot of thoughts that were exchanged. It has been really inspiring above everything, and I'm so glad that I spoke, had the chance to speak to you. You're a very humble and a kind human being. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shruti.